Good afternoon there, Dan. Pleasure to welcome you to Thursday Thinking at Digital Jersey. I'll just introduce you. So you're Dan Hare, the founder of Continuum, a local data and development agency here in Jersey. So firstly, Dan, I think it's fair to say, would you like to give us a little bit of a background on yourself, your job role, and then we'll go down through a load of questions.
Thanks, Ed. Well, first of all, it's nice to be here and congratulations to everyone for making it onto the bootcamp. So we're a data and automation business. We primarily focus on selling other people's software, but being the best at it. So that way we can serve the most clients with a smaller team of experts. And large number of our clients are financial services. We've got about 100 clients. So we've got clients across from the police to the hospital to global radio to lots of the firms here. And I think what we try and do is to kind of help provide the glue in between their various systems and what people actually need to get out of it for whatever reason.
Okay, fantastic. So nice intro about yourself and your business. So could we dive now into your background, your childhood, where you grew up and your education?
Sure, yeah, of course. So I'm from England originally, near London, always on the science side of things. So maths, physics, chemistry, economics, that kind of stuff. Went through that track, studied physics at Imperial College in London. So again, really, I love physics and I love that sort of predictability and there's a right answer.
Is that where the name Continuum came from?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to explain the name Continuum?
Well, most people, unfortunately, it's very annoying. It was a stupid name for a company because then suddenly loads of things are called Continuum now. So it's like, when I did it, that wasn't the case. So there's a TV show now called Continuum and all sorts. So probably the most obvious continuum is the space-time continuum, which is like the 4 dimensions of space, time travel and wormholes and all of those types of things. So Einsteinian physics. But the reason why I chose that name was, well, and again, a lot of people can't spell it. They think it's
I struggled that.
2 U's, not a double U, important to say. But the whole point of it is that there's no straightforward answer to anything at all, right? So particularly in technology, people go, you've got to be on-prem or you've got to be in the cloud, or it's structured data or it's unstructured data, or it's automated or manual or whatever. But the right answer is somewhere in between, and kind of requires some critical thinking for people to realize that it's not one size fits all. Not everyone should be using AI. Let's take it as an example, right? Some people just don't need it, or it's not going to be helpful to them. Whereas for others, it's absolutely exactly what they need.
Okay, so just on your education piece then, so what was the degree you did?
Physics.
You got a degree in physics?
Physics, yeah.
Did you stay and do a master's?
I didn't. I was at the point where I was doing really well, but I could see that it was turning into maths rather than physics. So it was all some very complicated. I remember particularly some line integration stuff was hard. I really enjoyed things like matrix mathematics, Hamiltonians, and quantum mechanics and things. And that's kind of interesting because that whole Hamiltonian matrix maths is what's behind large language models.
Okay,
so it's very interesting.
Integrates
kind of
well into AI.
Those concepts have kind of come back. But yeah, the physics is, in our team, we've got an ex-postdoc physics. We've got our newest hire, she's got an MSc in astrophysics. We've got other physics graduates as well. So it's kind of quite a helpful lens.
Okay, I didn't realize that. So they're not just traditional developers. These people are mathematicians and scientists by trade.
We have a couple of developers, but on the whole, these are people who've never developed, who've never written a line of code before. So we're data-driven, not code-driven. So start with, it's very like physics, right? You start with a starting case. Okay, you fired a shell out of a cannon at a 35-degree angle at 100 meters per second. Where does it land? And you know what the equations are and what the constants are that allow you to get through to the answer. Plus, I was too lazy to write essays, so that was another.
If we had ChatGPT, it might have been easier back then.
Right. Well, there you go. But that was kind of always what I've been interested in, and then just fell into working with data. So from the age of 23, I've been a data developer.
Okay, fantastic, Dan. Would you be able to tell us then, did you have a job pre-university? What were your first jobs?
I did a year, nothing meaningful, just sort of warehousing work, just sort of standard part-time jobs. And then I graduated and spent a year at KPMG doing antivirus work and starting to get into...
And that was pre-university?
Post-university, and then I went travelling for a couple of years. Went down to Australia and whatnot.
Okay, so whereabouts in your sort of youth did you realise that you were an entrepreneur?
I'm still waiting to discover that, if I'm honest. Well, no, never really thought of that at all. It was just it's rare to find, people that you want to work for, and no one was really doing what I wanted to be doing. So that's really the only reasons I've ended up doing what I'm doing. If I do it on my own, it's because no one else is doing it. Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about your transition to Jersey then. So when did this start? When did you first hear about Jersey?
Well, so my sister actually worked here when I was at uni. So I actually came out a couple of times. So I knew how beautiful it was. And then I spent 10 years in hedge funds. So between London and New York. So writing hedge fund systems.
Where was that? What firm was that?
Oh, it was a small firm called Maple Securities. So, but as I said, I had an apartment in New York and all sorts. It was crazy times. So
I think you're going to have to divulge a little bit there.
Well, it was just that I had been doing some work at Shell, and in 1994 found a job on the internet, which was like kind of
first
quite
person
early.
in history to get a job. Yeah, cool.
And it was kind of a self-selecting thing. The guy had put it out there, that not many
Craigslist.
people even... Before Craigslist. This is before everything, right? So, there's no Google, no nothing. It was all dial-up internet. You had to have a modem in your PC and trumpet Windsock.
Classic 56k modem.
Well, yeah, maybe if you could afford it, or 96. So found this job and went to work for a hedge fund that was like 5 people in Savile Row in London. And I was there 10 years. And after that, there was like 100 people in London, 100 people in New York, Canada, Frankfurt. So all I did was I wrote a access SQL system, and then ended up running a team of 10 people.
That's quite exciting.
Not what I signed on for, got a lot more stressful, flying back and forth all the time. So I did 10 years of that and then pulled the ripcord.
And how long did you live in New York for?
On and off a few years.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so when did you first move to Jersey then?
So then I sort of bailed out of that before I went mad and went travelling, and then again, and was staying with a friend in Sydney who had a housemate who was from Jersey.
And then did you work locally here? Presumably work with a local firm in Jersey, or were you self-employed?
Well, I didn't really do a lot of research, if I'm honest. So I was still really sort of chilling out after leaving work. So just came over and thought I'd just get a job or start a company or something. Didn't understand regulations and undertakings and housing and stuff. So I wasn't allowed to obviously set up on my own again for 5 years. But then sort of looked around, and there weren't really many people doing what I was doing in terms of the hedge funds. They weren't really doing similar stuff. So found Contract 5 as was. So
the original C5.
Yeah. So, Contract 5.
5 advisors.
A worse name than Continuum, in that Contract 5 was 5 contractors. So they thought, here we go, here's a name for scale and growth.
So just on this, so is that a secondary company to the predecessor? Was it not previously called something else before C5?
No, it was Contract 5. So that was set up by 5 guys who'd been at ITEX.
There we go. So it was ITEX historically. They
left and set up.
And were you one of the 5 consultants?
No, I was about number 10 or something. They took a couple of big clients off ITEX, so Lloyd's, TSB, offshore, internet banking. So they took a couple of clients and then set up on their own. So I joined them, when there was about 10 people, and I was there for 10 years and built up the data side. And by the end of that, they were up to 200 people again. And so that, similar sort of thing. You sort of, if you're a pen dot on a balloon, and then you blow the balloon up, and suddenly you're in a very different situation within an organisation. So it was all lots of pensions, and they owned assets and all this sorts of boring stuff. So
So was your sort of role managing a team of data scientists, developers, working with financial service businesses?
Exactly.
Okay, so banking, as you just said, primary client?
So lots of banks. So like RBS, Standard Bank, Deutsche Bank, Lloyd's. Worked with people like Equity Trust, did some government work, did quite a lot in Guernsey as well. A nice mixture, but it was all writing data warehouses in SQL. So I got a team of 15 people just churning out SQL by the mile
So what was the transition then? So from that period of time, internet, things were different. So did you watch the evolution of technology? Were you still there when fiber came in, or had you already left by then?
That really didn't make much difference because all of the clients had leased lines. They all had decent connectivity.
All on-prem and leased lines opposed to cloud.
Very few cloud systems in those days. It was all on-prem really. And I just could see I was really into the BI world, building data warehouses and cubes and data mining models, early machine learning models, and was just aware that there was a lot of no-code stuff coming that could do what developers could do more reliably and certainly quicker and cheaper, and sort of brought that to the board, who had no interest really. Because, that's an interesting thing to think about with technology, is that as it improves, sometimes it's the incumbent that is the most challenged by discovering the pivot, discovering the radical new technology. And it's hard for an existing business to accommodate that. A lot of people maybe know that Kodak invented the digital camera, but just didn't know what to do with it. I think one of the big Osram or someone like that invented LED lighting. When you invent effectively something that's going to cannibalize your business, it's a big problem for businesses. So anyway, it was agreed that wasn't going to work with C5. So
Hedley Lamar invented the Wi-Fi in World War II. So to give you an example, technology might have been created many years ago, but only implemented at a certain time.
I'd like to think I've not invented any torpedo guidance systems rather than that. But yeah, that's right. Bluetooth, right? That sort of handshake protocol. But no, I kind of was a good leaver, left there about 8 years ago, and said, I'm going to set up and start again, but with no baggage. So I didn't take any of the team. I had a gentleman's agreement, wouldn't take any clients or team, and start again for no code, low code. So that's why I've hired non-developers. I've hired analysts on the whole. We've got a couple of developers who've seen the light, but on the whole, it's people who have analysis skills.
Okay, so before we go into the Continuum talks, I'm going to ask you a load of questions on that. Do you want to just give me some examples of who inspired you? Were there any entrepreneurs that you looked up to? Anyone that you followed during your career?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, Microsoft, I've always been a Microsoft user. We happen to use Alteryx now, but people like Bill Gates, I think, was a real innovator. Obviously Steve Jobs, from the point of view of, sort of design thinking.
So good question. Were you a MS user or an OS user? What did you have in your younger years?
So I actually learned to program on an Apple IIe Euro Plus, basic, did some basic stuff on summer holiday. And then had a Mac Classic.
So you were a Mac boy
in the family, yeah. So my dad was in computing, you see. So we had a Apple Lisa, which was the precursor to the Mac. So I had a Mac. I did my university dissertation on a Mac SE30, which was
means nothing to me, but yeah.
These are the early Macintoshes when it was all in one. The screen was
whole unit.
The
There's one upstairs.
Yeah, exactly right. So,
okay, so you're a Mac user.
And then they launched an iMac and they got rid of the right hand button.
Yeah, that was a bit of a revolution that wasn't adopted very easily.
No, then I moved to PCs then.
Okay, fine. All right then. So, some questions then about Continuum. So how did that work? So from an entrepreneur, that must have been quite a scary and terrifying period, starting your own business, being responsible for yourself and, your products and services and your clients. So do you want to just give some feedback on how that happened and how you became successful?
It's an interesting question. If you, after a couple of years, if you knew what it was going to be like, would you do it? And the grass is always greener. That certainly you take for granted what it's been like being a part of it. Even if you've built the company, been part of building the company, you take for granted what that brings in terms of solidity and perceived safety. So when you're set up, from scratch, obviously you've got your name and you've got your personal track record, but that companies are really change averse. So, it
takes a long time to build brand equity and recognition in industry. And you were previously working under an established C5 banner. Going independent's always a challenge. So, okay, did you have any support, any collaborators, backers, investors, or was this entirely on your own shoulders?
No, just me, fool that I am. But it was good because I was based here. So I had the original pay-as-you-go desks.
Fantastic.
Here. So that was my office. And then a couple of my old clients got in touch and said, we've got a project. Could you help with this? And so that was really where it started.
You've been with DJ then since day one then, essentially. Oh, that's good to know.
And I think that is the thing I would say, there is a lot in support of people starting here. Jersey Business, a really helpful resource in terms of free advice.
Yeah, they provide a wealth of documentation, support, policy and procedures, a lot of stuff they can support businesses with.
So to get started with, and Jacks as well. So you've got template employment contracts. So it's fine if you're it's still expensive and established business, but you see people sometimes start up and then spend money on legal, spend money on, a lot of branding and a brochureware website and things. And I think just having a bit more curiosity about that and asking around a bit, I think there's a lot you can do yourself.
So you managed to sort of essentially save some unnecessary costs by using local support through Digital Jersey Business, and who was the third one you said?
Jacks.
Citizens Advice and Jacks.
Okay, they've got template employment contracts. It's not even about the money. That obviously you don't want to be spending money before you're earning money, but at the same time, it's time, it's attention. So, our office, we've got an office on the same floor as DJ for 8 desks next door.
I may see you most mornings.
There you go, exactly, yeah. And, that is a rolling lease. So from my point of view, we could probably save some money and go and get a dedicated office somewhere, but that's time, and you underestimate how much time it takes to sort out leases.
And the facilities baked in, the access to innovators, collaborators, it's a good package here.
Yeah, really good. And it's nice to be in that sort of environment, but same, when you're having to go back and forth with lawyers and things like that, it's time consuming, and that's your most important thing is your time and energy.
Yeah, time is valuable. So, okay.
Well, time's no good if you haven't got the energy to do something with it, right? And so that mental energy of contract negotiations and reviewing draft 15 of a document and stuff, who wants to do that?
So, question for you, who was your first employee and how did that happen? And tell me about that journey, employing your first member of staff.
So Ben Banham joined me 7-8 years ago now. So I think I've been doing this for 8 or 9 years. I'd worked with Ben previously at Standard Bank, which
on
is
a
one
project,
of my clients.
Two separate companies, or was he at C5 as well?
No, he was a Standard Bank employee, and I was there as a consultant and had worked with him, saw he was smart, and he left there, went to another firm, and I thought, well, it's time to, don't want to do everything on my own. As things started to take off, I found Alteryx, software. So I thought, right, this could be a business here. I think there's something.
Do you want to just give a quick intro on what Alteryx does, and then that's tied in nicely? So.
Sure, yeah. So, originally I thought with my Microsoft heritage, I thought I'd be a Power BI consultancy because I knew the developers and I'd seen it emerging in conferences and preview versions and things. And I thought, well, this is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Cloud-based as well, pulls all the data in.
Right, it's early, and Office 365 was really just taking off then, which was very powerful. I thought that's everyone should do that. It's obvious, and I saw the early versions of Power BI and thought this is very interesting. Then I did one project with it and never again. So just wasn't strong enough for the data model and the automation. So then, found Alteryx, which could do everything that a developer can do with data and more. And you can teach someone who's good at Excel to basically build data automation.
So am I right in thinking you're the European partner for Alteryx?
We have been European Partner of the Year previously. We're one of quite a few. There's like 9,000 companies globally use Alteryx, but we're in the top 3 in Europe.
Oh, fantastic. It's a good relationship for Alteryx. And is it fair to say that you are working with another partner?
Well, we always have. I'm interested in no-code, data-driven technologies, because I think that's where you get the most value by combining the data together. Then let clever platforms look after it downstream, AI and things, because all of the problems with technology is to do with data on the whole now. Like all stuff like environments and things, because of the cloud, that's not a problem. It used to be a problem, like building and configuring servers. God, it was so boring, it's such, it doesn't work because the wrong driver on here or whatever. You don't have to worry about that sort of stuff now. So really, most of the problems now are data.
So the term data is the new oil. I guess you've heard that a few times.
Yeah, that's right. I've seen a few spills.
Yeah, we hear that term a lot.
The people who get it right get tremendous value. I think it's the best return on investment you can do is to get your data in a better state repeatedly, not hiring temps to come in and just tidy up data in the system.
So Alteryx is essentially cleaning and cleansing your data, putting it into a format that's readable for your senior management and providing reporting. Is that essentially what it does?
That's one of the uses. You can use it for migrating stuff. You can use it for integrating between platforms. So people don't have to rekey data or to provide more information to downstream systems that can do a better job. I think end state so again, that's what physics lens on it. There's really no reason why you can't just point an AI at a database and that it can work out who you are, what you do, and therefore what you should be doing, why you aren't doing what you're doing, and actually just build the system for you.
So just on the AI piece then, so that was one of the questions. So what's your feedback and thoughts with the evolution of AI at the moment? Has been a big push since, October last year? The launch of OpenAI launching ChatGPT.
3.5, then 4. Yeah, so we've been doing AI the whole time, right? The AI is machine learning, where you take your historical data, of whatever form. So in traditional AI that we've always done, with other products like Data Robot and TangentWorks, is you pointed at your historical data and it then just goes and evaluates what the correlations are between the inputs and the values, and then is able to then show you what is out of expectation, and then also predict new values for unseen data. I've not explained that very well. So
is that machine learning though, opposed to large language models?
That's still machine learning. It's just a different way of looking at it, because this is more about text and image and sound, which is unstructured data. Really, I'm mostly in structured data. Most of my clients, financial services, it's additive, or the hospital or the police. They are
structured records on a database.
How many crimes have happened? What types of crimes? What's going to happen? So everyone interacts with AI all the time. When you apply for a insurance policy, they don't care how long you've lived at your current address, but they say, have you lived at your current address for the last 5 years? They don't care. It's just that historical data proves that people who move around make more claims, because they may live a more chaotic lifestyle, or they may be moving from place to place and not know the people they're living with.
So are you finding client demand, developing products with AI baked in using ChatGPT 4?
Yes, definitely. But proving delivery with it is non-trivial. Where we've seen the best results so far. So we built chatbots and document bots and all of that, those types of content-based things. But I think some of the most interesting stuff that some of our clients have built is things like for holiday companies or retailers of automatic or service companies automatically processing emails, reviews, feedback, and then running it. We've built connectors that allow you to take the data and then ask questions of ChatGPT. So then it's all about being creative and creating the question or the prompt. So, if you left a review saying, gosh, this is the best restaurant I've ever been to, imagine you get 10,000 reviews. How on earth are you going to categorize good ones and bad ones?
So sentiment analysis is then tracking and analyzing which are better and which are worse.
Right. So, we just take all of those in one data set and then just send all of the rows to ChatGPT and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how positive is this review? On a scale of 1 to 10, and why? And a scale of 1 to 10, how valuable would it be for us to interact with this person and why? Summarize in 5 words what this review's about. And so it starts to make it more usable for the organization. And one holiday company, they suddenly realized that the food was being mentioned and they get thousands of reviews, but just by running it through the workflow, they discovered that the food reviews for a particular holiday location were less positive than they had been. And they were able to look into it and
amend, improve. Yeah,
the management had changed, and so people weren't enjoying their holidays as much. So they were able to interact with all of the people who'd made that observation and said, just want to say, yeah, thank you for your feedback, and we've changed our food provider for that particular location.
Okay, so while we're talking about AI, what's your feedback on Microsoft Copilot and it being embedded into Office 365?
Yeah, great. I mean, it's a productivity tool for people, right? You know, it's going to help people do their jobs better and more efficiently. I think what's the best way to say it? It's directly related to how curious that person is. So if someone's not curious, it's not going to help them at all. You know, you see it a lot. Some people care, some people don't care. You know, you want people who care enough that want to do what they do better. So I think that's part of like Office 365 has been a massive.
I think it's going to be the mainstream.
Yeah,
it's
that's just going to be
engineering.
I mean, I don't think everyone's going to get it because it's like, people won't get it for everyone in the organisation because it's £300 a year. That adds up if you've got a couple of thousand people. But I think for the information workers and the people who are interested, they should get it. And it works. Yeah, we work with it with Alteryx as well, you know.
You've integrated with OpenAI, haven't you?
Yeah, and also Power Automate and Power Apps and Power Portals, and it's all part of the same suite. And the nice thing about it is that, you know, pretty much everyone's going to have that. So the floor level of technology in organisations has gone up massively since COVID.
So, question for you: if you could have a snapshot of now and 5 years in the future with innovation, technology, and continuum, how would you see the trajectory of your business and the growth of innovation?
I have absolutely no idea.
You're gonna have to make something up.
Okay. I mean, if you'd asked me that 18 months ago, before the large language models got released, like ChatGPT, and what's a bit strange, to come back to your question about delivering systems with them, is that they're worse now than they were when they were launched, right? So you've got a tremendously powerful language engine. The first versions that were publicly available were amazing. Now they're getting less amazing because they're putting all these guardrails on it, you know, that say, well, you shouldn't really ask that question. It may not be fair for the person.
Ethics are coming in. AI ethics is really controlling and restricting the opportunity. Yeah.
It might not be fair to have given that review to that restaurant. You know, maybe there are contributory factors. Early versions of GPT, it'd be like, that's a terrible review, don't go there. You know, whereas now it's kind of, they're just hemming it in with, well, to be fair though, everything's relative and all of that type of stuff. There was a comment was made that AI ethics was invented so that arts graduates could work in data, and which is a bit unfair, really, but it's not helpful. I don't think it's at all helpful. Obviously, the point about ethics is that you have to have accurate data going in. So that's where the bias really comes in, is when people have inaccurate data, or they don't just transparently provide it. They take a subset of the data and train on that. You should train on everything. And the reason people don't is because the data is not good enough quality. So they hand curate a set of data. So that means it's not repeatable, it's not testable. You can't guarantee that, to the best of your knowledge, you've given that model the best possible chance to succeed. And because people don't really understand these models, there's lots of these models around, but they're old. Right, so, you know, things like car insurance is a classic example of bias, because when those models were delivered in the 70s, 80s, whatever, there weren't as many women drivers, and, you know, not so many young people. So
the insurance brokers are using models that go back 30 years,
possibly,
from their data
easily. We got clients who are still working on mainframe systems.
Okay,
right, it works, and, you know, particularly banks, because they just put layer of systems on top of each other, and someone changes something, it breaks, and then suddenly the cash machines don't work and people don't get paid, and no one actually knows how it worked. You know, the Y2K, which some people here probably weren't even born there, depressingly, but the year 2K bug
that never existed. Everyone pre-bought it. Is that the one where businesses were influenced in buying cybersecurity protection software and then nothing happened?
No, this was consultants going around. I mean, who sort of retooled as Y2K specialists, but that was because no one bothered putting a century into the date. It's like, well, the system's never going to be running in 1999. Yeah, and then obviously they were, and the Chinese had a good approach to that, where they just everyone who worked for the airliner company had to be flying in an aeroplane as the clock went forward, 1st of January 2000. That was quite a good way of testing.
So if we could go back to the question then, what do you think will be the next 5 years of innovation? Do you think AI is just going to continue to evolve?
Good point.
Businesses
Yeah, so I went on a rant.
No, that's cool.
So as I said, if you'd asked me that before ChatGPT, I could have told you exactly what would happen in the next 5 years, because progress was linear really until that time. I mean, SQL is 50 years old and that's still what people are learning, right? I first used Excel in 1991, right? And that's still the main business tool. I mean, what else that people interact with is the same? You know, that was before mobile phones. Nokia's come and gone, BlackBerries have come and gone, but you've still got SQL, you've still got Windows, you've still got Excel. And then, you know, obviously iterative improvements, but it's pretty, you know, linear. Since
formulas in Excel have not changed, the concept is the same.
Yeah, it's still the same thing. Now, software, you know, AI is writing software. Software's writing software. So the pace of change is unbelievable. Things happen now and you go, oh yeah, cool. 2 years ago, if you were to show someone the stuff that's just consumer electronics now, like Midjourney, like Sora.
Yeah, Midjourney's changed the game for pictures for sure.
But then, you know, that nearly died a death after.
What's your opinion then on, is it Sora?
Yeah.
The new video fusion technology.
Yeah, text to video, incredible. Right.
Make 60 seconds of footage.
Have you seen, yeah, I guess, have you guys seen the Sora videos, right? There was a very interesting analogy that, so spun out of Apple, you had lots of other businesses came out like Nextcube and whatever, but also Pixar, right? And really interesting. There's a really interesting podcast about this, that there was a lady who was responsible for modeling hair, and they kept needing more and more technology until they could make hair realistic.
So that was Toy Story in 1996?
This was The Incredibles, actually. Was if you remember, the hair in that was startling, you know, how brilliant the animation was. And that was a computing problem. They were waiting for people to build powerful enough computers, and enough of them, that would allow them to render hair in a breeze. Might take days to render a 5-second clip or something. And then Sora just does it, like the puppies playing in the snow. Just incredible.
So question then, so I'm all pro that type of technology, but then on the flip side, some people are concerned about the environmental impact running the servers and the amount of computing power. So what do you feel the knock-on effect is in the environment?
Yeah, very good point. I mean, I think there's been huge advances in renewable energy. You know, if you look at the percentage of, you know, take Britain, you know, the percentage of renewable energy compared to the old days of coal powered stations. And people don't tend to think about the full carbon impact. What was the full carbon impact of a team of 30 people driving into Pixar every day, into an office, running all of their workstations, running all of these mega servers themselves? It's because it's so centralized, it seems obvious, but, you know, Iceland's got some data centers that are all geothermal. I think, you know, people will be a bit smarter that, I don't know if you've ever seen the graphic of what part of America could be covered in solar panels and power the whole continent.
I do actually. I heard that on, I think it was a Joe Rogan podcast.
Possibly.
So it's very, very small. It's like 100 square miles or something of solar panels would generate energy for 50 plus states.
Yeah, as long as you don't need it at night. And that's going to be the big technology breakthrough that is going to really change the world.
Do you think solar energy, renewable energy will be storage? Storage is a challenge.
Right, you know, lithium ion is, you know, when you see how heavy an electric car is, to
2 tons, yeah.
To get 250 miles of range, with all of the knock-on effects of all of the particulates and all the brake particulates and tires, the damage to roads, you know, there's a lot of knock-on effects of effectively having to carry around very old technology, a lot of very old technology. Look at Vision Pro, you know, the Apple virtual reality goggles.
Go on then, what's your feedback on those? They're rather expensive.
expensive, very cool, but you have to have a separate battery pack. Who wants that? You don't want that. You want.
Do you think that
glasses.
technology, VR and AR, is going to drive forward in the future?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, that's one of the technologies that has always been around, that people have always said is going to be the next big thing. Obviously, Facebook burnt tens of billions of dollars on the metaverse and then just basically gave up. So people are still waiting, with apologies. Crypto could have been seen as a similar sort of thing in the past where the applications weren't really there. But I think its time will come, for sure.
Yeah, time will come. Crypto, $2.8 trillion market cap, Bitcoin ETFs, Ethereum on the way. I think cryptocurrency is here to stay.
Well, I think the currencies is kind of just one application of it, isn't it?
The smart contracts, the utility and the infrastructure.
And the immutable record of something having happened, I think. Particularly in a world of AI where, we see the consumer end of stuff, right? We don't know what the research, there's whispers coming out of OpenAI that they've basically got AGI, they've basically got an AI that's almost like alive. And with that in mind, and, not to chuck too much in here, quantum computing, right? That's another thing.
This is starting to get exciting. I'm liking this.
Everyone's been talking about for a long time that suddenly is coming along. Same with fusion, nuclear fusion rather than nuclear fission. If you could have fusion-powered power stations.
So this is also getting exciting now. So we'll step back 2 things. So I read somewhere a couple of months ago that soon there's going to be EU policy that if you turn off AI bots that have a human sort of conscious, you might be able to be prosecuted in the future, and that was debated. So what's your thoughts on that, being able to turn on and off and be prosecuted for turning off artificial life?
Very good question. There was a quote from Larry Page and Elon Musk. I mean, this is they're definitely going to make movies about this, about the birth of OpenAI with Elon Musk. All these guys are like kind of simulation heroes from movies. And Elon Musk and Larry Page, who was one of the founders of Google, because in those days Google was the big behemoth. Now it's Microsoft, really. But they were arguing, and Elon Musk was saying we shouldn't be building, new life forms. We shouldn't have AGI without it being open to everybody. And Larry Page accused him of being a speciesist. That he was already thinking, this is a long time ago now, he was already thinking of AI as potentially a different type of life form. As it is, like bots, RPAs, robotic process automation, old school screen scraping and clicky. In a lot of companies, they have personnel numbers. In that they're acting with permissions, they're doing things, they have outcomes.
Okay, so the RPAs are assigned like an HR record essentially for their accountability.
So I mean, that's it's not the same, but I have no idea. And I never quite got to the end to say that I would have told you exactly what was happening in 5 years, 2 years ago.
Sorry, we'll keep rambling. I'm liking it. So, okay, you said quantum computers then. So what's your thoughts? They're now consumer. You can buy them. You can rent them through the cloud. They're very, very expensive and they're not accessible to all businesses. When do you think quantum computing is going to disrupt our industry?
I have no idea. Again, it's one of the things that they're nearly there. Same with room temperature, superconductivity and fusion power stations. The trouble is, as I said, humans are very bad at recognizing exponential change, which is exactly what we're having at the moment. That, the idea that you would just be able to, now you could easily create a believable AI of us talking together with our voices easily. And it would be very difficult for humans to predict, to work out whether it's real or not. So there you've got a real problem there with AI in terms of fake content. It doesn't have to be obvious. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be obvious at all. And that's frightening. The worry is that we won't know what the problem is until it's happened. Same with quantum computing. If someone's got quantum computing working properly, then they can hack the entire secure internet, because it's all 32-bit keys or whatever it is, that the whole of the HTTPS encryption algorithm theoretically can be cracked by a quantum computer. So you won't know it's been done until it's been done. And then at that point, that's really frightening because then there's no secure communications anymore. That's probably kind of a trivial way of looking at it, but that's the problem with this stuff is when they work.
Mm-hmm. When they're available to consumers and you can use it in your household.
Right, or in a lab in a bad actor, whether
certain country got
company
caught acting bad with their military quantum computer a few years ago.
Right, and and what the problem is that people haven't really been paying proper attention to this. Well, really, there should be some sort of digital benchmark or watermark on every bit of media that shows that it came out of CNN. There should be some sort of encryption key that watermarks it. They haven't done that, and no one can agree how to do that yet. So, certainly given that this year has, I think, the highest number of general elections in any year in recent times.
Fraud in the voting, I'm sure, this year. Yeah, I think Facebook accepted some issues in 2016 with biased voting and blocking things.
Yeah, well, Brexit as well. That was certainly an early example of AI being used in terms of who got shown what.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so back to Continuum, because this is all about promoting yourself and your business then. So what products and services do you think are going to be changing in the coming months and years?
Everything. So I think everyone's job is going to be changed by
And do you think that's going to facilitate and increase their productivity by leveraging AI, or do you think it's going to start to consolidate and reduce human capital in the workforce?
Well, both things could happen at once. I think if you look around, the biggest problem that every organisation has is a lack of people and talent and skills. So if you're able to, I think Jersey's productivity has dropped by 20% in 25 years.
So we had yesterday.
Right? Good stat. Shocking stat.
It is. So apparently we were more productive as an island 20 years ago than we are today. Find it hard to believe, but yeah, allegedly it's a start.
However it's measured, but it's certainly the case that people aren't doing their jobs better, quicker, cheaper. The upside is that people have worked hard to get the people that work for them right now. So give them the tools. Yeah, that's what we're about. We're about enabling business people to do stuff without having to go through a whole project and developers and testers and all really boring and slow and very unlikely to succeed.
So a couple of questions then, being a sort of business owner and an employer, what do you think Jersey's workforce is like? Do you think there's talent on island? Do you think we've got a lack of talent? Do you think the education system's doing a good job at encouraging people to become developers, compliance professionals, administrators? What are your thoughts and feedback?
I think they're very good people in Jersey, I'm happily here. Just need more of them. And, and I think what I would say is inefficiency locks up a lot of human talent that could be better deployed to further the aims of our island. So there's a lot of people in jobs they hate. And what a waste of life force that is. So again, that's what I said, that energy life force, that's the only thing you can't make more of. So, you've got to maximize that. If people are unhappy, then that rubs off on other people. And I think sometimes that unhappiness is because they aren't doing a fulfilling, creative, constructive
culture
job.
And the leadership of their businesses. People should always encourage their employers to continuously develop and do something they enjoy. So as an employer, what would you look for in a young person? Would you like skills and attributes in a particular manner, or would you like a solid education, or do they need to be more of a hustler, a business developer? What would you look for in the right employee?
Yes.
Bit of everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the technology is so good now and so pervasive, and it's so easy to find out how to do things with YouTube and, and TikTok videos, and we do a lot of YouTube shorts.
Do we have to lower the tone? Are we really going to mention TikTok? I'm a YouTuber.
Well, it's just how do people best consume content, isn't it? And
60-second reels, yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
That, or Instagram or whatever. But I think you can't teach personality. So personality is super important. Obviously, a person that can get on with people, can interact with them, empathize with them, help them. That's super important, and most of all, problem solving. So having a mindset that doesn't just stop when you hit a roadblock.
Resolve problems, provide a solution. Okay, so a couple of questions, bring it back to the boot camp. So we've got a lovely audience here. So you helped support and mentor a previous boot camp, is that correct? Okay, so could you give some examples of how you supported and worked with some of the boot campers?
Yeah, so that was really interesting. Manthan was my boot campee, and he wants to build a dental AI, to help run a dental practice in an automated way. Very interesting. There's a lot of, obviously very interesting things there, like AIs, analyzing X-rays. There's a lot of really straightforward stuff that you could do with more traditional.
Find anomalies between a clean lung and a bad lung type thing.
Maybe not the dentist.
No, I was just...
But maybe they have to have slightly more focused X-rays than that. But even more trivial, more obvious things they can't do. I mean, this is a profound shock, I think, to people who are just used to knocking stuff up in the cloud and Python, is how bad most corporate systems are. It's profoundly shocking. I remember I was at a client and there was a new member of the team being shown around by the team manager, and went around the printing area and then said, and here's the fax machine. And the junior said, oh, what's a fax machine? And the manager said, oh, this is what a fax machine does. To go, okay, right. She goes, yeah, I'd never heard of it either. And, you've got still...
When was that?
Machines.
When we're talking? Are we talking the last 5 years or...?
No, probably 10 years ago, maybe, something like that. But all of the dentists have these terrible old systems running on like crappy old servers under the stairs, with no redundancy, no online backups. There's a lot of
sector to digital transformation is needed in that sector
completely. But the thing is, that's being run. It's a partnership, right? So
cash out the owner's pocket. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's the ROI on it? And if I would observe that in life, people are getting more short-termist. So people are less likely to invest in something because it's the right thing to do if they're not necessarily going to be around to accrue the benefits. We kind of had to give up a bit on our idea. What we wanted to do was to take all of the dental record data and run it through a big AI, and then, simple AI, and then be able to come up with automated next best actions, send offers to people, say, I've noticed, a lot of your peers have had their teeth whitened and they've really enjoyed it. We'll give you a 10% off if you subscribe to it. And you could drive huge benefit because the opportunity is that they have empty chairs. And so, they're having to pay for that capacity. So therefore, anything that they can do to get more people in, the better. Predictive interventions, knowing when someone's likely to need to be looking at root canal or, wisdom teeth or whatever. Most healthcare is so reactive, to get on the front foot and to say, no, this would be a really...
So they were bringing something disruptive to the dental industry. Okay, so advice for people in the bootcamp environment. So what would you give a young entrepreneur creating their own product or brand? What would be your first tips and advice?
Do it.
Do it.
Get something running. I think there's nothing, you can't underestimate the value of having something to look at and to show people.
So working proof of concept.
Talk through it. Exactly.
MVP.
Because in corporate life as well, people are much less experimental. People are very risk averse now, which is ironic given that doing things is so much easier. People are very risk averse now and don't want to do something if they don't necessarily know it's going to work. Whereas the experimental method, the scientific method, is by far the best way.
Trial and error.
Right? Because if you try something and it proves there's no relationship, that's a win. You've proved something, you've added to your sum of knowledge.
And some questions about Jersey. Would you recommend Jersey as an island to innovate and create and launch a product and service?
Yes, I think there's some very interesting people here. You've got world-class people in most areas. And you can easily find people and talk to people. Compare it to London, let's say. Much harder to get close to people there. Organisations of a certain size here would be, maybe 2-3 times as big in England. So you would therefore find it much harder to partner with people because you're more like a competitor. That's nice, and it's obviously a lovely quality of life, great infrastructure, and it's a bit you can't. There's no tunnel, but really I can be in London for 9 o'clock.
You just dropped a bombshell. What's your thoughts and opinion on a tunnel connecting Jersey to the continent?
I don't know enough about it. I think it's a very interesting thought experiment. I don't really know what the net effect of that would be on society, but you can certainly see that places like Switzerland and Luxembourg grow by having
Connectivity,
simple access to greater pools of people than a more isolated pool of people.
Do you think Jersey's going to grow then? So yesterday at the Chamber, we found out that Jersey needs to grow to 150,000 people to accommodate our society and economic challenges. Do you think we're going to continue to grow the island?
I think that is, all things being equal, number. I don't think Jersey can accommodate 150,000 people, frankly. So I think there's going to have to be technological improvement. I mean, we're just finishing a year at the moment, which has been great, where we've had a member of the team embedded with Dementia Jersey for the year. And because obviously they're going to be a large part of helping people with cognitive dysfunction as our population ages. That's been really great. We've helped them move to cloud platforms, and they're a lot more efficient and a lot better informed. And I think that is what's needed. I think root and branch, Jersey needs
Planning
to go
for the future,
go on a modernisation program in every organisation, because without it, we're at risk of becoming uncompetitive and left behind. Which would, Jersey's always been one of the most innovative jurisdictions, so we kind of need to drink our own champagne.
Yeah, I think we're at that turning point where we need to continue to evolve and embrace innovation, especially in the financial service industry.
But also in our public sector, in the provision of our services. And people don't have access to doctors' notes. And, there's all sorts of things that aren't joined up that could even further improve our quality of life. Everyone always goes on about Estonia, but really that was their spur to go on their digitisation march, was the fact that they literally couldn't employ any more people for their million.
I think centralising their
citizens.
digital ID with all their social services and offering e-residency really boosted their economy. So that's something that Jersey can continue to explore.
And gave rise to some
big companies. So we have Skype was an Estonian company.
TransferWise as well, I think.
Yes, TransferWise, Estonian as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that came from the digitisation boom in Estonia's public sector that then freed up time, money and talent to build new services to sell to new people. Because that's the beauty, obviously, of the internet, is we now have customers all over the world. We've found a couple of new products that we can be global launch partner for.
Can I ask you then, so what's the split of customers of local clients and off-island clients?
Half and half, I'd say.
That's a good number.
Probably. Growing faster off-island than on-island. And that's even before we start trying to bring some global products that we can sell everywhere, deliver to everyone. So that's the beauty of the cloud, obviously, is that the whole world is your market, but then the whole world is your competitor as well. And the moats, like the moat around jurisdictions is being eroded all the time. So people will be able to come after what we've got more easily over time. And you're kind of seeing it already, that there's lots of people work for on-island firms who aren't in Jersey. So, that work is being done, but all that wealth is going out of the island.
Okay, so Dan, a couple of questions on motivation then. Could you tell me what motivates you in life? What gives you the get up and go every morning?
We've got a vision of data-driven simplicity, and everyone enjoying what they do better and getting to spend their time on what's on their job description and what they studied for, rather than maintaining Excel spreadsheets. So that's, and it's a challenge because, people, process, technology. The technology bit is easy. That's all done pretty much. But how you help people change their processes in order to recognize that and adopt it and then embrace it, that's the hardest challenge that you've got. So you're never going to run out of people to convert.
So
to,
if you could give any advice then, motivational mindset to young aspiring entrepreneurs, what would you say to them?
Well, there's different flavors of entrepreneurs, aren't there, really? People do what they do for different reasons. Like, as I said, I do what I do as a company because no one else is doing it and no one else really follows the way I see things. And so I then think that if you do good things efficiently for good people, then the money comes along afterwards. Whereas I think some people are more financially driven. And so, people have different angles on it. I think the key thing is to really be short. Don't be short term. You've got to eat, but if you build it, they won't come. You got to know who's going to be buying whatever it is you're doing and stay close and get customers as soon as you can along for the journey.
So you'd recommend working with a trusted party, somebody who helped develop and build your product with you?
So you've got that sort of co-founder type idea, but also launch clients, interested people with budgets. Always helps, right? You get some runs on the board. No one wants to be first, except for a very small number of people. So find them, and don't be too short term. And I think partnering is by far the best way to do it.
So find skill sets that you might be lacking, introduce somebody with a different lens, and then collaborate and bring the two parties together.
Right. So we have an HR partner. We've got a digital marketing partner. We've got a PR partner.
Because they're not your core skill set, so you outsource it to a trusted party. Okay.
Yeah, and then it's much more fun. What I would say is for founders is it gets lonely paddling that canoe. So, it's expensive to hire people and it's risky and that's a difficult situation. So when you partner with people and there's, financial partnership, that you pay for their time and for their skills, then that really makes it more fun. Can be a bit lonely sometimes, obviously, when you're trying to do what you're doing, which is different to other people.
How many people do you have now on your team?
Well, we've got we've got full-time people, plus we've got contractors and consultants. So I'd say probably 15
Fantastic
people. We got one of our consultants, she's just traveling the world with a company laptop for the client, helping do 3 days a week for
Lucky
compliance
her.
platform. Yeah, she's doing great. She's been in Rwanda, Angola, Tahiti, wherever. So I want to swap with her. But it's that's what I'm saying is if you have a medium-term view to this, but also investing, have marketable skills.
Would you say culture is the most important thing of a business, or?
Yes, and the hardest, I think. So yes, I completely agree.
Culture's key.
That's what I'm saying about when you're looking for the attributes of people, the personality is the most important thing. Are they a positive person? Are they going to be helping give energy and momentum?
Can't get a more positive person than Ben.
Quite, right? And the team are great. And I think that's a really important thing. Otherwise, it's you lose energy.
All right. Well, look, Dan, thank you very much. It's been fantastic talking to you. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thanks, Ed. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for inviting me, and good luck to the boot campers.